Type Podcasts, Episode 2. My name is Simeon.
Hey, it's Ben.
And I'm Dale.
So, first up today, I was scrolling through Science Alert on their website, and they've got a pretty good article on artificial intelligence.
Oh, yeah?
So, Google engineers mutate artificial intelligence to make it evolve systems faster than we can code them.
Oh, that's not terrifying at all, is it? Yay.
Yeah, so these researchers have collaborated with Google, and they're working from Cornell University, and they're using the Google AI suite Auto ML, which is just like an overarching suite of Google's artificial intelligence systems.
Yep.
So essentially what these researchers have done is incorporated some concepts from Darwin's theory of evolution. So this AI program can essentially improve upon itself faster than any programmer, any computer science specialist could.
All right.
Doesn't sound like some Terminator type stuff at all.
And so is it learning itself, or is it like multiple AIs, one teaching another?
So I believe it's one AI, and it goes through a 3-step process. So the researchers have called it set up, predict, and learn. So it starts off with 100 algorithms, which are randomly combining using a mathematical equation. It goes through a trial and error process and identifies which algorithms are working best. It keeps those, tweaks them, and then essentially just repeats the process.
Yeah, right.
It's able to mutate these neural networks as it goes.
Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, it's obviously always, whenever AI is brought up in convo, it's always that, will robots take over the world? And I know Elon Musk has always, come out and said he's terrified of it, even though he owns his own sort of AI company.
So
what are your opinions?
He did have open AI, but I think it was starting to breach into Tesla's autopilot, autonomous driving a bit too much.
Automatically? Like...
No, so he was the chairman of OpenAI, but he's left now because it was impeaching too much on Tesla's...
Right.
No, like a conflict of interest type thing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. And what do you think about the whole, takeover of robots? Are you sort of a believer or not a fan of the theory?
I think it's not quite, not necessarily that the AI will take over, at least maybe not yet. But for me, it's the implications of how people will use it. Because, the first people to get a hold of this sort of tech is going to be governments. and secret services and stuff. And
that's the last people you want having it.
There's a lot of applications for this sort of stuff, like especially surveillance.
I mean,
all that data that Google's collecting, and
all that facial recognition
about everyone.
Stuff. Yeah.
The only reason it's not that useful is that they can't look at it too closely right now. If there's an AI developed that can, read through that information at any sort of decent pace, it's starting to get a bit spooky.
And have they the Google or the researchers, have they said in any way what they're looking to use this AI for, or is it just sort of the proof of concept at this moment?
I think it's more proof of concept at the moment. Quoting from what's been said,
it's a research paper. It's a research paper.
Yeah. So they haven't quite published yet. It's just been peer reviewed. But yeah, they're seeing this as more baby steps towards future research.
Yeah, right.
So it's definitely one of those areas to keep a lookout for.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is evidence that AI can effectively select the best option out of multiple things.
I think the biggest thing with AI at the moment is there's no foundational governing body which oversees and has created ethical boundaries for what AI research should be. at the moment it's kind of just free for all. I think this is something that Elon Musk has brought up. I think going forward, it should be something that should be definitely considered. Yes, it could stump innovation, but when you're dealing with something as serious as AI, I think it's probably going to be necessary going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how much is done in places like China, but those are the classic go-to places of AI and facial recognition being used already and used and abused, I guess. Tracking people, unwanted people in the country, and sort of, it's all a bit hush-hushed at the moment, but I wonder if there is a governing body, whether that'll just be, so for example, America and the American companies have to abide by that, or if China will step in and sign some treaties and things like this around those sort of or around the governing, if there is a governing body and sort of those laws in place. It'll be interesting.
I think the scary sort of outcome is I guess the intelligence agencies getting their hands on it and not wanting to let it go. It'll be a very, very, very strong tool.
And of course, setting those, those precedences like they already do. For example, with Apple, when they get in those courts and sort of, these little minor court cases, which are like, oh yeah, whatever, you can use your AI for that. Just sort of sets that precedent for the next AI case and the next, case of tracking down, whoever they're trying to track down at the time.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get even better Google search results.
Yeah, speed up some of those Chrome tabs that we're so slow at the moment.
Can we get AI to figure out how to make Chrome use less of my RAM, please?
Oh, yeah, you'd like to hope
Dream come true.
No, it's interesting, but has there been some advancements in some recycling phones at the moment? I think you were saying, Dale?
Recycling phones. So there's a new phone. It's been announced. It's the Teracube. It's a sustainable phone made from recycled parts, and it's very cheap. It's $350 US, and I guess the biggest thing is, one of the biggest selling points is it has a huge backing from the company. They're giving it a 4-year warranty, and they're selling it as a phone that you're not meant to throw away after 2 years. You're meant to keep it for those 4 years.
Yeah, right.
Part of how they've made the phone last a lot better is, it's easy to open up. It's got an easily replaceable battery.
Okay. Which
battery being the
$300.
$350.
Sorry, you said. It's interesting because like we were talking about last week, the iPhone SE, that's coming in just around the $400 US mark, and sort of similar price, but of course non-replaceable battery there. And it's interesting that back in the day, the flip phones and the Nokias and even some of those early Samsungs had those replaceable batteries. And now we're going to this world where we've sealed up all our phones. These, and sure, it adds waterproofing and these IPS ratings for dust and water, but it takes away that user replaceable battery, which used to be
It is also significantly easier to make a phone that wirelessly charges. You want to be using glass backs. Metal doesn't work.
It makes it a lot harder to get into when it has glass backs and glass fronts.
Yeah. While I personally think it feels nicer to hold, it definitely helps to have those replaceable parts. And when you look at the specs of the phone, considering the close price to that iPhone, it has double the RAM of the iPhone SE. It has 6 gigs of RAM. It is a much bigger screen, 6.2 inches. And it comes with 128 gigs of storage, which Apple cannot provide for that base price. You will need to spend more on your on your iPhone SE to get a higher amount of storage on the
So
phone.
it's running close to, looks like, flagship some components. Is it clear where they're making those budget and price cuts? Is it just in the material or is it camera? Does it sort of?
So yeah, it's recycled materials. The camera is one of its weak points.
Okay.
It's not going to have the best camera. If you want a good camera, you're much better off going for the iPhone, most like around that
Pixel,
around that price, or the Pixel. What are they? The 4S.
Yeah, the Pixel and the Pixel 4a is looking to come out soon.
4a, yeah, that's the one. Those will have a much better camera, but it has, another big thing is it has an enormous battery. It is a 3,400 milliamp hour.
Yeah, that is big.
Which compared to the Pixel 4, which has 2,800, it's a very big improvement. The iPhone SE, the iPhone SE has a smaller battery in comparison, but
just over 2,000 milliamps, I think.
Yeah, but to keep in mind that their processors are very power efficient. And the screen is much smaller.
I think Google was playing around with this idea of sort of swappable, recyclable phones a couple of years ago, weren't they?
Yeah, so they had Project Ara, which was originally a Motorola project, which Apple obviously took over when they bought out Motorola. But essentially what it was a shell of a phone, and it had replaceable modules.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So you could do all the upgrades yourself at home. You could swap out cameras. You could put a bigger battery in. You could upgrade your storage. And this is all on the back of the phone. You could just flip them out at home without any screws.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I guess it's not a brand new concept, recycling. I mean, of course, not looking at swappable phones, but I mean, Apple sort of has always tried to market themselves as a bit of the sustainable recycling. They've tried to use recycled aluminium in some of their new laptops and iPads. And they've had their Daisy project, which was a robot that was introduced in 2018 for disassembling iPhones and recycling them. And it could pump out 200 iPhones an hour. And I believe since 2018, it's increased in speed and also increased the amount of daisies. They've got a couple of them now. And recycling those parts back down to the base and then reusing that aluminium and stuff from the chassis for other products. I mean, it's
that's still good.
Footprint.
iPhones are just not good at being repaired. They're very
especially user repaired. No, not at all.
Terrible to repair. Well, unless you're willing to, drop money or you have your Apple Care plan going, and you can just take it into the store. It's very expensive, and they don't have a free battery replacement plan. I think that's covered under. That's one of the repairs that you can get under Apple Care. But
I think.
There's no good option to get your battery replaced, really.
But I mean, even it's not just iPhone, because Samsung for a long time
it's not just iPhone.
Were the staple for that, swappable battery and SD cards and stuff like this, and multi SIMs and things like this. And there was all those jokes about the iPhone not being user replaceable. And then
sacrificed for the glass.
Sacrificed until they're both or most flagship phones these days are just that slab of glass, which
can't even find the
very lovely to hold
jack on the Samsung phone anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's now gone. But these beautiful engineering designs, but the carbon footprint of your phone is just going up and up and up every single year. And especially if you're replacing it every single year, like some people do. And it's good to see that Apple is taking those steps and has been for a couple of years now in terms of recycling. But even more so that these companies are beginning to pop up around user replacement and things like that.
So how
Something
often
to
do you guys-
consider as well, you know. There's only so much gold and copper in the world.
Yeah. How often do you guys
Gold
replace your
especially.
phones?
Yeah, replace phones. Oh,
Yeah.
I used to be 2 years. So on the old iPhone TikTok sort of schedule, the iPhone, then the iPhone S of that next year, the iPhone
Yeah,
S.
yeah.
I used to replace on the iPhone each 2 years, and then I got the iPhone 10 and sort of had that, and then the 11 came out, and I just couldn't couldn't justify buying it. Bit of the price, a little bit of just what's in it. Just the upgrade wasn't enough. And then this year I'll probably be buying the 12 when it comes out in September. But
not even necessarily that the upgrades are bad. It's just the 10's still very good phone.
Yeah, it's just just haven't increased enough, I guess, is the difference.
No, yeah.
I feel like
You still got.
I think there's a lot of tech podcast YouTubers like Marquez Brownlee, MKHD, and all this stuff that sort of say that it's, I don't know about getting stagnant, but it's definitely hitting the top of that curve. It's slowing down. The difference between the iPhone 5 and the iPhone 6 was massive. The difference between the iPhone 6, the 7, adding those dual cameras, and then from the 7 or 7 Plus is what I was on, to that jump to the 10 where it was just edge to edge screen. It was a huge leap, and then they've just kind of slowing off. I mean, you're adding 3 cameras to the new iPhone 11 Pro Max, but it's not a big leap. It's just incremental updates, I guess. So going from my 10 to hopefully this 12 at the end of the year will seem like a big update. But if I went for every generation between, what about you guys? Are you yearly phoner or second every 2 years?
I'm a bit here and there. So my last phone I had was a Samsung Note 4. So that was a bit of an old baby. Yeah, you could take the back off that one. I had a couple of batteries. You could swap that bad boy out.
When did you upgrade from that?
Out. Sorry?
When did you upgrade from that?
So I upgraded from that. So I had that phone for about 4 years.
Yeah,
which
right.
is quite a long time for in phone years, but I upgraded probably 2.5, maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah, right, okay.
And I upgraded to the Oppo RS7 Plus, which has been a great little phone.
An Oppo, yeah, okay.
Yeah, been through some trauma, but she's stuck in there with me.
Yeah, trauma? What kind of trauma?
Have you been dropping your phone?
She might have went for a swim in the ocean the other day, and she's definitely not waterproof.
Boy.
But she survived. And I'm looking to probably have this phone for 3, maybe 4 years again.
Yeah, and I guess that sort of talking about dropping it in the ocean, that is that convenience about not being able to open it is you get those features like waterproofing and things like that just give that little bit more assurance.
Yeah.
But is it enough for the carbon footprint?
What about you, Dale? I reckon you'll be the once a year.
No, somewhat.
You get on that Apple train, don't you? Every year, stay up.
Well, I started off my first. Well, I guess my first phone was the iPhone 4.
Ooh,
so I saved up for that phone. The fresh glass, the glass sandwich. I had to get it. It was just before Siri came out, so I missed out.
Nice bit of reminiscing.
Yeah, no, but I kept that phone for 4 years.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, wow.
It definitely wasn't healthy at the last year or so. But it lasted a while. And then I guess I moved from that to a Note 3. So that one had a removable back. That was great. I managed to replace the battery on that because it started dying. Something that's probably one of the biggest features I miss from phones. Really, I think it might be worth it to have the waterproofing, but
terracotta.
Yeah, you've got the new Teracube.
Teracube, sorry.
Yeah, terracotta's cheese, mate. You've got, but yeah, I moved from the Note to the Nexus. I think it was one of the Huawei ones, and then And then I got an LG V30. So I got that because I got that purely
one of the last LGs.
It was one of the last headphone jack phones, and it was good. It was pretty good for about a year until it, basically died on me. Stopped receiving updates to the software. The battery started going. And so from there, the timing ended up being nice. I grabbed the iPhone 11. And my plan is to keep this for 3 or 4 years. The cost, I figured that it would last a while. I think it's a good iteration to buy into. It's got an enormous battery. It's got a very good camera, but if it screws up on me, it'll be a very expensive mistake.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So I really hope not. I really hope it ends up being good over time. But I guess we'll be able to see.
Yeah, right. Well, a bit of a good segue there. So just sort of for some of our listeners, so they get a bit more of an understanding of sort of who we are and what kind of stuff we like. Just sort of throw it out there. What are your interests and hobbies around tech and not around tech, and sort of just, what are your backgrounds kind of coming into this podcast?
Well, I guess we're all students, aren't we?
Absolutely. Studying IT, of course.
Me being graduated, but did we all do IT? I did specifically an IT degree, but
yeah. So I started off with
computer science.
In computer science, in cybersecurity, and that was fascinating. But it was a struggle each week. Barely understanding what I was doing, and then I finally understand it as I walked into my next shoot for the next week after studying the whole week. I just couldn't keep up with it. So I've now gone over to e-business. So sort of still in the IT space, but more the business sort of side of the IT, which is very interesting. And sort of, one more year with that. So, yeah. But so what did you do as your major, Dale and Ben?
So, well, I majored in corporate networks. So a bunch of fun stuff like admin, sysadmin, and network setups. But a bit of study on, what sort of stuff would you pick for a network? How would you, design a business's, office? What computers would you select to use for different purposes?
Yeah, right. And are you
a bit boring, but very useful.
Are you working in that space?
Well, I'm currently working with the university. Still on their IT team. So I would say generally pretty useful for that.
Of course.
Large network management.
Yeah, okay.
UOW having by far the largest network in the region.
Yeah, of course. And what about yourself, Ben?
Yeah, so I started in IT and hopefully finishing it at the end of the year, majoring in e-business. So you could say I maybe persuaded Simeon to come join the dark side.
There was a little bit of a pull over towards it when I heard you were sort of doing it. It seems very interesting.
No, I kind of give everything a go at the moment.
Yeah, right.
Building out a 3D printer at the moment, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's bloody cool, that 3D printer. We need to finish it off.
It's getting there slowly.
It's ticking along. All those, personal projects, they take their time, don't they?
Yeah, that's it.
Always seems to take the back seat when uni comes along.
No, I try and dabble in a bit of everything. So once I hopefully graduate, I can find out what I enjoy and hopefully nail that. Yeah,
cool. And I know you've owned one as well, Ben, but drones the other passion of mine. And I had a Mavic Pro for a little while. Like the new laws that have just come in around the drones being, you have to have a license, anything over
bit too noisy,
50 grams, too noisy, all that. I understand it being around houses and I'd like to get your opinion on this, Ben, but God, it was fun just flying around and, there's different angles and shots you could get of, especially down here in Wollongong, the ocean and stuff.
it's a ton of fun until you get harassed by a drone. So I was at the beach and there was this kid down there flying his drone, and as soon as that happened, I totally understood why these laws are in place.
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I've never really been anywhere. I don't think that that's had someone with a drone that I was.
You've just been the one doing it.
Yeah, I've been doing one. Let's be honest.
Just the offender.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. So you really sort of know. Even had you had your drone at that point?
Oh, no, I think that was just before I got my drone.
Yeah, okay. I'd be interested to see people who've sort of had a drone and then sort of having someone hassling them and sort of things with that, because, I don't know, being on the other end of the joysticks flying around, I'll tell you, it's not easy. Obviously that there's some laws around staying under 120 meters, and 120 meters is a long way up. It's hard to see your drone. Sometimes you're looking up and you've lost it in the sky, and it's kind of like, someone, emergency helicopter flying past or whatever. Absolutely terrifying when it happens. But, the shots you get with them, it's just, and, obviously mine are very amateur shots, but, you see some of those shots on some of those wildlife safari videos and they're just beautiful. It's just a whole other angle that you can't get with your hand.
I think with all these laws, I think it's just inevitable.
Yeah.
With something like that, like, you can dream on about, being able to trust people and what they do, but in our type of society, you've got to have these rules, and they're in place for a reason, and most of the time it's because something's happened.
Oh, it's going to be a while off before we see our drone deliveries, which is almost a shame.
Yeah, it'd be nice if Saturday and Sunday could be post days as well.
I think the consumer market is maybe a bit stagnant, but I think the commercial market is still pushing ahead. It'll be interesting over the next 5, maybe 10 years to see what comes out, because there's still some pretty strong startups out there. Uber's got a pretty big stake in it at the moment.
Yeah, and Amazon
obviously dabbling.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But anyway, boys, it's been good to chat to you.
Likewise.
And if anyone wants to know more about stuff we've talked about this week, we'll link all our articles down in the show notes, and anything else we've discussed, we'll pop some articles down there if you have any interest in those and want to read up. But good to chat to you, boys, and I'll see you next week on the next
catch you next week
Tech Talk podcast.
See you guys.
Catch you later, guys. Talk to you then. Bye.